Hi guys, welcome to ANIMEized. This is the English translated version of the novel Throneofseal. The novel differs slightly from the Chinese animation or donghua. If you want more of these videos, please smash the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. Enjoy and have a blessed day.
Although Long HaoChen is kind, he is not naive. Everyone has been picking on him. Can we just let it go like this? I don't have absolute certainty, because any variable could arise. The opponent, even if they are 5th rank, should also be at the peak of 5th rank cultivation, and their combat experience should not be less than mine. Long HaoChen said calmly. Wang Yuanyuan asked, Captain, how confident are you? Long HaoChen smiled. His sunny smile left Wang Yuanyuan momentarily stunned. About 90%. 90%? LuXi widened his eyes and looked at Long HaoChen. HaoChen, may I ask a daring question? What level of 5th rank are you now? His confidence in Long HaoChen mainly comes from his powerful Mount Haoyu and the light elemental elf. Long HaoChen's gaze turned towards Lao Wu, who was waiting in front of the trading center. I should be about the same as him. 5th rank peak? LuXi took a sharp breath. Not to mention him, even the members of Commander Level Number 21 Demon Hunting Squad looked at Long HaoChen with extremely strange expressions. When they were on the Cave of Fearful Wailing mission, Long HaoChen's internal spiritual power was just over 3,000, and he was far from reaching the 9th level of 5th rank. But in such a short time, he had actually reached the peak of 5th rank. How did he perform this magic trick? Sima Xian rubbed his hands together, leaned in close to Long HaoChen's ear. Boss, what are we waiting for? Someone is offering a great gift. We should definitely take advantage of it. 1,000,000 merits are impossible, but since they are a senior commander-level demon hunting squad, I estimate their bottom line should be 100,000 merits. We just need to surpass them by 10,000 merits. Even if we lose, it won't matter. Lose? Not a chance. Can the boss lose? He deceived us. Let's crush him, Lin Xin said viciously. He was in a highly excited mood at the moment, and his self-confidence was even more pronounced in his speech. Long HaoChen blinked and said, 10 times the merits, isn't that a bit too much? It's not fair. Lin Xin, you can have all the merits for now. I'll keep 10,000 merits for myself. As the person responsible for the team's finances, Lin Xin naturally manages the merits. This guy is not only a financial enthusiast, but also a penny pincher, and he's quite skilled in bargaining, making him the perfect team treasurer. Chin chuckled. Captain, you've learned some tricks too. Long HaoChen indicated that he would leave behind 10,000 merits, indicating his intention to participate in the bet. Lin Xin's eyes sparkled, but he had a plan in mind. After collecting over 100,000 merits, he had an excited expression, with a hint of cunning. Long HaoChen walked confidently towards the entrance of the trading center, and went straight to Lao Wu. He didn't need to pretend. His somewhat youthful appearance was already quite convincing, to the point that even worried Lao San and scheming Lao Lu were reassured. Such a young fellow, how much cultivation could he have? Even if he's exceptional, at most he just broke through the 5th rank. But Lao Wu had been a demon hunter for 5 years. Who knows how many times he had risked his life in missions. Senior Lao Wu, I'm willing to complete this mission in the task tower. What do you think is an appropriate bet? Long HaoChen said respectfully. Lao Wu smiled and said, It doesn't matter, it depends on how many merits you have. Long HaoChen hesitated slightly and said, Our team just completed a mission, and we also have merits from previous trials, probably around 10,000 in total. Can I wager all of them? As he spoke, he lowered his head somewhat sheepishly. Fortunately, the other members of Commander Level Number 21 Demon Hunting Squad and Soldier Level Number 4 Demon Hunting Squad didn't follow along. Otherwise, their impression of Long HaoChen would certainly have changed significantly. Kindness doesn't mean he's honest. Obviously, he wasn't very honest right now. Lao Wu's eyes brightened, but he also felt a slight sense of caution, and subconsciously looked at Lao Lu beside him. The woman beside Lao Lu nodded slightly to Lao Wu, making a gesture. Lao Wu's heart steadied immediately, and he said with a generous tone, All right, 10,000 it is. If you win, we'll pay you 100,000 merits. You can go wait at the Grand Trial Field. We'll have the competition at the Warrior Trial Field. Long HaoChen shook his head and said, The Warrior Trial Field doesn't suit me. I'm more accustomed to the Night Trial Field. Lao Wu was momentarily surprised, then chuckled and said, What? Afraid I might cheat you? All right, the Night Trial Field it is. Thank you, senior. Long HaoChen bowed again and turned to leave. As he turned around, a slight smile curved his lips. Watching his departing figure, Lao San couldn't help but say, Lao Wu, this kid is probably not simple. 10,000 merits. For a newly formed demon hunting squad, that's a big gamble. Back then, we nearly fell apart just from losing 5,000 merits. He's willing to wager 10,000 merits. He must have some confidence. Should we find out which team he's from first? Lao Wu proudly said. Third brother, you're getting timid as you get older in the business. Can he fake his age? Lu Mei, bring it here. As he spoke, he reached out his hand to the woman beside him. The woman flicked her wrist, and a finely crafted statue emitting a strong magical aura floated into his hand. Lao Wu gestured to Lao San. With this, do you think I'll lose? Let's go, third brother, let's borrow some merits, and then we'll make up the 100,000 merits. Long HaoChen informed his companions about the location of the challenge. Let's go, we'll go wait for them. Lin Xin grinned and said, Boss, you go ahead, LuXi and I will take a stroll at the trading center. Long HaoChen thought he was going to buy a gift for Lin Xin, so he casually agreed, and led the others to the night trial field first. Lin Xin and LuXi exchanged a glance, and then swiftly entered the trading center. Before long, news began to spread on the first and second floors of the trading center. A newly formed demon hunting squad wants to challenge Commander Level Squad Number 8's Lao Wu. At first, this news was somewhat discreet, but it didn't take long for all the demon hunters on the first and second floors of the trading center to know about it. And it said that someone has even opened a betting pool. Long HaoChen arrived at the night trial field. After explaining his purpose, the staff in charge led him in with curious looks. The staff naturally didn't say anything, as this was a matter among demon hunters, and not something they could interfere with. Han Yu whispered, Master, be cautious. After all, that person has gone through many missions, and his combat experience won't be weak. Long HaoChen nodded slightly and said, I understand. Xian leisurely said, Heh, Lao Han, don't be nervous. We're just here to collect merits. Once we've earned enough, we won't need to take on missions for a while. We'll see when Vice Captain recovers. Like Han Yu, Xian was completely loyal to Long HaoChen now, treating him as their leader. Not to mention, after the increase in his innate spiritual power, his personal cultivation speed had greatly improved. This had earned Long HaoChen Xian's respect. Remember, he was Long HaoChen's third squire knight, and Long HaoChen was taking a significant risk. Long HaoChen and his team sat in the rest area and waited. However, after a while, Lao Wu hadn't arrived yet, and many people had entered from outside. These people weren't very old. At most, they were middle-aged. After entering the trial field, they found seats directly. Among these people, Long HaoChen recognized some familiar faces, like the leader of the second-ranked soldier-level demon hunting squad, Yang Wenjiao, and the leader of the third-ranked soldier-level demon hunting squad, Duan Yi. All of their team members had come as well. These two captains even came and sat beside Long HaoChen. Long brother, I heard your team caused quite a stir this time. Yang Wenjiao glanced at Chinyin not far away. And with a slightly helpless expression, he whispered. Long HaoChen naturally knew what he was referring to, and with a straight face, he said, The mission tower had such a significant mistake, it affects more than just our team. Yang Wenjiao nodded in agreement and said, The Alliance handled it fairly promptly, otherwise it would have definitely angered all the demon hunting squads. By the way, how did you end up challenging Commander Level Squad Number 8? It's a trap, seasoned hunters trying to deceive us newbies into betting merits. We have encountered this before, but I had rejected them. Are you sure you want to proceed? Long HaoChen smiled faintly and said, I certainly don't have absolute certainty. But us newcomers can't always be pushed around by others. Even if we can't win, it's not a big deal. We're betting 1 against 10, and I'm only betting a small amount of merits. Yang Wenjiao finally understood and said, That's good. Consider it a way to improve your combat skills. Of course, we're in the same batch, and I support you. Over at the betting pool, I've already placed 100 merits on your team. Betting pool? What betting pool? Long HaoChen asked in confusion. Yang Wenjiao said in surprise, Isn't the betting pool organized by your guy, Lin Xin, and LuXi from the soldier level number 4 demon hunting squad? By the way, why is Lin Xin with LuXi? His betting pool has a significant ratio, but if you lose, you'll probably have to pay a substantial amount of merits. Long HaoChen sighed and said, That money-loving guy. I was wondering why he went to the trading center. Did he notify all of you too? Yang Wenjiao chuckled and said, Not only did he notify us, he's also responsible for spreading the news. Those old birds at the commander level always try to take advantage of us newcomers. With this incident, even if we don't protest to the Alliance, the other teams from our batch should get the message. It'll save everyone from falling into traps in the future. Don't worry, Lin Xin is quite cunning. He set the odds at 1 to 30. That means if you lose, you'd have to bet 30 merits to win 1, so you won't lose much. Long HaoChen calmly said. How many people place bets? Yang Wenjiao said. Quite a few. Not many are betting on you. The vast majority of bets are placed on Commander Level Squad Number 8's Lao Wu. Lao Wu is borrowing merits. I guess he'll come over in a while. How many merits did you bet? Why does he still need to borrow? Long HaoChen smiled, revealing a set of white teeth. 10,000, what? It wasn't just Yang Wenjiao. Even the composed Duan Yi couldn't help but exclaim. Are you crazy? How much effort do we need to earn 10,000 merits? Don't just think about yourself, think about your teammates. Yang Wenjiao's words even carried a hint of reproach. How much our captain bets is our concern. We're willing, and we're not afraid even if we lose. Chinyin voice rang out nonchalantly. Yang Wenjiao looked at her and said in a deep voice, Enair, don't be a nuisance. I'm discussing important matters with Brother Long. Enair made a face at him and said, Important matters? Look at how stingy you are, only betting 100 merits. Aren't you ashamed? Long HaoChen watched as Yang Wenjiao's face turned a bit unpleasant. He exchanged a glance with Enair and gave her a signal. Brother Yang, rest assured, I dare to bet so much because I have some confidence. On the other side, Duan Yi suddenly stood up, turned, and walked away. Yang Wenjiao asked in confusion, Brother Duan, where are you going? Lao Wu is probably coming soon. We should support HaoChen. Duan Yi glanced at him and said, I'm going to increase my bet on HaoChen. With that, he turned and walked away quickly. After a brief moment of surprise, Yang Wenjiao immediately reacted, casting a deep look at Long HaoChen. He also stood up abruptly and rushed out, his movements even faster than Duan Yi's. They were all intelligent people, and Duan Yi understood. How could he not understand? Who is Long HaoChen? He outperformed both of them in the demon hunting squad selection competition, and in the subsequent team matches, he displayed great strategic skills, leading the soldier level number 1 demon hunting squad to ultimately win the championship. Would he do something uncertain, daring to bet 10,000 merits? What does this mean? It's a 30 to 1 odds. If Long HaoChen wins, more and more people gathered in the night trial field, and in just a short time, there were already over 50 people gathered. Moreover, the number of people was still increasing. Unsurprisingly, all of these people were demon hunters. Lao San, Lao Wu, and Lao Lu from Commander Level Squad number 8 came together. They also learned that someone had opened betting. However, they didn't mind it. After all, it was a chance to earn merits, and sharing the profits would benefit everyone. Lin Xin and LuXi followed closely behind them, heading directly to Long HaoChen's side. Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi followed behind them, but their expressions didn't look good. Did you open the betting? Long HaoChen looked at Lin Xin with a piercing gaze. Lin Xin chuckled and said, Don't worry, boss, I've got it under control. I didn't take too many merits from them. The maximum limit for each person's bet is not more than 10,000. Long HaoChen relaxed upon hearing this, as he realized that if they made many commander level and soldier level demon hunting squads lose everything in this bet, they would become targets of resentment. Even the originally weaker side would be looked down upon. HaoChen, you better control Lin Xin. He's really unscrupulous. We wanted to increase our bets, but he refused. Yang Wenjiao's displeased voice could be heard. It was because Lin Xin and LuXi sat down next to Long HaoChen, while Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi had to sit further away. Lin Xin looked wronged and said, It's not that I refused, it's because you guys arrived late. We had already closed the bets by the time you arrived. I couldn't do anything about it. Right, Lao Lu? LuXi seemed to have become acquainted with Lin Xin in just a short while, nodding repeatedly and saying, That's right, we couldn't help it. We also had to find trading center staff to officiate this betting. And time was limited. Please come earlier next time. Long HaoChen and Lin Xin exchanged glances, showing some confusion. Lin Xin's face showed a trace of disdain as he whispered, These two guys bet 100 merits each on us, but they also set a limit of 10,000 merits each on Lao Wu. Now they want to back out. Where were they earlier? Long HaoChen was speechless. Well, some people's merits really aren't worth feeling sorry for. As he thought this, he gently patted Caier's small hand, and Caier nodded. He then stood up and headed towards the trial field. There was no need for him to do anything. The night trial field staff had already invited a 7th rank holy knight from the Night Temple to officiate this match. Of course, they didn't do it for free. 500 merits would be given as compensation to this fellow demon hunter holy knight. With the merits coming from the loser, Lao Wu had also entered the arena, looking at Long HaoChen, who now wore the Holy Spirit armor, with a somewhat indifferent expression. He felt somewhat guilty. He smiled faintly and said, Little brother, have you thought this through? You still have time to reduce the bet now. Long HaoChen shook his head and said, No need. Since we're already here, I might as well give it a try. The 7th rank holy knight looked at Long HaoChen, and his expression suddenly became somewhat strange, but he quickly regained his composure and nodded at the two of them, saying, All right, transfer the merits you've bet to me. Both of them transferred their merits. The holy knight continued, This is just a competition. If one side admits defeat or becomes unable to continue the battle, they will be declared the loser. You must not harm your opponent, and you certainly cannot kill your opponent. If I see that one side cannot withstand the attacks of the other, I will stop the match. Many demon hunters are here to watch this match, and they will ensure fairness. Long HaoChen's hand flashed with light, and he drew the Holy Spirit sword, tapping it against his left shoulder, and he performed a standard knight's salute to the holy knight. Lao Wu also gave a slight salute to the holy knight. At the holy knight's signal, the two of them slowly moved apart. Begin, the holy knight shouted. Long HaoChen didn't summon any other weapons. He simply held the Holy Spirit sword, adopting a standard knight's stance, took a step forward, and charged straight towards Lao Wu. Lao Wu was also clad in heavy armor, and his armor was noticeably thicker and heavier than Long HaoChen's Holy Spirit armor. Despite being magical equipment, it clearly had superior defensive capabilities. His weapons were a pair of battle axes, indicating he was a warrior specializing in axes. Lao Wu's battle axes were quite massive, with the axe blades resembling half of a cartwheel, emitting a faint cold light, and exuding a strong magical aura. Each axe blade was adorned with a rhombus-shaped blue gemstone. In response to Long HaoChen's charge, Lao Wu laughed heartily, and stepped forward to meet him. He was tall and robust, and with his heavy armor, he appeared like an impenetrable fortress. In front of him, Long HaoChen seemed rather frail. As the two sides were about to collide, Lao Wu swung down his large axe from above with his left hand, diagonally slashing towards Long HaoChen, while his right-hand axe remained in front of him, held defensively, in the face of Lao Wu's mighty strike. Wielding the axe with a strong spiritual power aura, Long HaoChen suddenly halted his steps, held the Holy Spirit sword steadfastly, assuming a standard defensive posture. With a deafening crash, a golden light flashed, but Long HaoChen remained in place. Lao Wu's large axe was lifted upwards due to the impact. At that very moment, Long HaoChen's Holy Spirit sword in his right hand thrust out like lightning, transforming into countless sword shadows, executing the lightning thrust. Long HaoChen is now using a single sword, and Lao Wu can't even tell if he's a Guardian Knight or a Retribution Knight. Divine Obstruction is a Guardian Knight skill, but Lightning Thrust is a Retribution Knight skill. Divine Obstruction? These words suddenly rose in Lao Wu's mind, making him even more cautious. He lowered the large axe held in his right hand in front of him, and swung it quickly defending against the Lightning Thrust's attacks. However, Long HaoChen's Lightning Thrust was just too fast, and he couldn't block all of them. At least 5 or 6 stabs hit his thick armor, producing a series of metal collisions. It even left 5 or 6 dents on his armor. Even though Long HaoChen didn't use any other skills with this strike, it was executed with the power of the Revenge of Light. Naturally, it had quite some power. Lao Wu quickly took 2 steps back, wielding his 2 axes defensively in front of him. And a strong spiritual power aura accompanied 2 flashes of blue light, blocking Long HaoChen's pursuit. At this moment, his evaluation of Long HaoChen had greatly improved, and he abandoned any sense of disdain. A Guardian Knight who can use Divine Obstruction and Lightning Thrust, and from his attack power, he could tell that Long HaoChen was indeed a 5th rank knight. How old is he? It seems that today's battle, he really needs to give his all. Swish, 2 swords, 2 golden light sword strikes were executed, blocking Lao Wu's 2 axe strikes. Long HaoChen advanced again, launching an assault. Lao Wu roared loudly, turned his body halfway, and his 2 large axes slashed towards Long HaoChen like meteors chasing the moon. After the previous exchanges, this time he held nothing back. A strong blue spiritual power erupted from within him, and a brilliant light burst forth from his 2 large axes, making the axe blades seem transparent. A powerful spiritual power surge created a whirlwind, rushing towards Long HaoChen like surging waves. Axe warriors are a type of berserker, focusing entirely on offense, somewhat similar to Retribution Knights. But they don't have mounts. Knights primarily have the light attribute, but warriors are not limited to one attribute, with various attributes changing constantly. Long HaoChen, who was in the middle of an assault, suddenly leaped into the air and shifted 3 feet horizontally. His movement was abrupt, so much so that Lao Wu's double axes failed to lock onto him, with a series of phantom steps under his feet. Long HaoChen had already moved to Lao Wu's side, not only evading Lao Wu's heavy strike, but also finding an opportunity to attack. Lightning Thrust. Once again, it's Lightning Thrust. However, this time he encountered resistance. Intense blue spiritual power was filled with resistance, creating a series of spiritual power ripples, and his Lightning Thrust couldn't penetrate at all. At the same time, Lao Wu swung his axes through the air and twisted his waist, transforming into a green whirlwind that rushed towards Long HaoChen, a whirlwind strike. This new move was extremely fast, and Lao Wu even borrowed the power of the 2 previous axe strikes to become a demon hunter. His strength was extraordinary. Divine Obstruction, in a sound of intense collision. Even Long HaoChen, in his Divine Obstruction, was pushed back several meters, but the green light formed by Lao Wu followed him like a shadow, and the sharp blue light instantly intensified, making it impossible to see his figure clearly. The golden light of the Revenge of Light shone on his body. Long HaoChen switched to his left hand, and raised his right hand, and Blue Rain, Light Lotus appeared in his hand. A brilliant golden light radiated from his chest as the center, and his liquid spiritual power spread throughout his body, completely dyeing his Holy Spirit armor a sacred gold. He didn't step back anymore, and he didn't use Divine Obstruction to block, with a strange hum that only Long HaoChen could hear. He raised both swords at the same time, thousands of them, transformed into a rain of lightning thrusts, rushing towards Lao Wu's green light head-on. Is he crazy? When they saw Long HaoChen's dual lightning thrusts, almost everyone had this thought. Using lightning thrust to counter a warrior's powerful whirlwind strike, it's like a madman's delusion. The whirlwind strike is one of the most powerful attacks for warriors below the 6th rank. Even though it's more suitable for group battles, its frontal collision power is still terrifying. The whirlwind strike is different from Long HaoChen's slaughter sword, as the energy consumption of the slaughter sword is relatively lower compared to the whirlwind strike, because it relies more on finesse, requiring the use of the enemy's force to increase its own power. Otherwise, Long HaoChen wouldn't have been able to use such a powerful skill at the 4th rank. The whirlwind strike, on the other hand, relies entirely on the warrior's own power. It starts with the legs, then moves to the waist and back, and is finally infused into the arms, with the spiritual power rapidly rotating and compounding before it erupts. The attack duration is not as long as the slaughter sword, but its instant burst power is even greater. When a knight faces a warrior's whirlwind strike, the best choice is to evade it outside the attack range of the whirlwind strike, as the whirlwind strike cannot be sustained for too long, and it consumes a significant amount of spiritual power. However, Lao Wu's attribute is wind, and although he has a robust physique, his speed is unexpectedly fast, to the point that Long HaoChen was sent flying. Lao Wu had already caught up, facing the whirlwind strike with its strong suction force and terrifying attack power. Not even Long HaoChen's 9-fold strike could completely evade it, compared to the whirlwind strike. Lightning thrust is just a second-tier skill for retribution knights. Comparing a second-tier beginner skill to a 5th-rank pinnacle skill, even with both hands, what could he do? Could he break the swords and defeat him? However, as the referee, the temple knight showed no intention of intervening, and instead, there was a hint of surprise in his eyes as he watched Long HaoChen. The sky was filled with light rain against the green light, and the sound of rain hitting banana leaves echoed wildly. It was the collision of gold and green. Most of the onlookers were at the 4th to 6th ranks, but very few could actually see the details of this collision. However, those few who did see it couldn't help but open their mouths in astonishment. Their eyes filled with shock. Under normal circumstances, the relatively weak attack power of the lightning thrust against the whirlwind strike would surely be easily pushed aside, and the swords might even be knocked away. However, when Long HaoChen's lightning thrust collided with Lao Wu's whirlwind strike, in that series of strange sounds, each moment of his attack seemed to pierce deep into the green light. Like thrusting a thick stick into a rapidly spinning fan, Lao Wu's whirlwind strike's rotation speed decreased under the onslaught of the light rain, and when his figure reappeared in the field, he stumbled, and almost fell. His armor and axes had countless marks of penetration. Fortunately, the whirlwind strike's attack was formidable enough. These marks haven't managed to penetrate into his body yet, but the magic array on his armor has clearly been broken. Long HaoChen, was he using lightning thrust to drag this out? Of course not. He has named this entirely new self-created skill of his the demon slaying flash. The inspiration for this skill came from the mysteries of lightning thrust and blue rain, light lotus itself, plus Long HaoChen's self-created radiance ripple. Over the course of nearly a month during his journey back, Long HaoChen has perfected this skill. Its power is certainly incomparable to that of lightning thrust, but of course, its spiritual power consumption is comparable to that of a 5th-rank skill. What's even more important is that this skill's greatest advantage is its versatility as a foundational skill, allowing it to adapt and change when combined with other skills. For example, it pairs exceptionally well with the Saint's seal. Long Xingyu had told him that when it comes to self-created skills, the best choice is to strengthen the foundational skills. This is because all complex and powerful skills originate from foundational skills. So by strengthening those foundational skills, you're essentially strengthening all related skills as well. In today's battle against Lao Wu, it was the first time he tested his fully developed demon slaying flash skill. With a single successful strike, it shattered Lao Wu's whirlwind strike before the astonished eyes of everyone. Naturally, the most astonished person was Lao Wu himself. Even though the demon slaying flash didn't hit his core, the vague pain all over his body was all too real. My whirlwind strike, it was shattered just like that. From the beginning, Lao Wu had intended to rely on his cultivation to suppress Long HaoChen. Initially, Long HaoChen's divine obstruction didn't concern him much. After all, as the signature skill of a guardian knight, divine obstruction had incredibly strong defensive capabilities. However, divine obstruction required precise anticipation for defense, and it couldn't be used for all forms of defense. Without assistance from a companion, it had limitations in one-on-one combat. However, just now, the two had collided directly. Both in terms of weapons and spiritual power, he found himself suppressed.